Good afternoon, everyone. I am very excited to be here, and it's good to be here with you as well, Annie.
Oh, Esther, I'm so happy to see you, and I'm excited for us to get to have this conversation together. I think people might look at us and think, what could these two possibly have in common with each other? But through our getting to know each other, we both discovered that we do have a shared culture and shared experiences in that we both grew up in foster care and we've both experienced homelessness. There's also something hopeful about it too, I think, when we all get together in a room. There's not a lot that has to be said because we have those shared experiences.
You're so right, Annie. And especially with what we have in common with our experiences being in foster care, there is power in being able to share your story with someone that has gone through, similar things and feeling that comfort of knowing that you're quote unquote not alone, but there's so much more power in just knowing that someone gets what you've gone through. I remember my first time being in foster care from 2007 to like the end of 2009. I remember being put in school, a public school for the very first time in 2007, along with my sister, and just being scared that people would find out that we were in foster care.
I didn't talk about foster care for a long time, not till I was into my, 30s. And it was hard. It was something I was embarrassed about for a very long time.
I was 9 at the time, and just feeling like, already feeling less than of myself because of my circumstance really shaped how I see the world and still how I see the world today. And then having people ask me if I was in foster care or not, or people just even knowing about it and not even asking me, but feeling like they were treating me a different way because of my circumstance and situation. And so that kind of follows me today in the sense that, I feel like I have to hustle harder, work harder than everybody else in college because of what I've been through.
Yeah, there's no wiggle room to fail on our path. And everybody needs that room. It's how we grow and learn, and being able to do that in safe places. And a lot of times we're not afforded that opportunity in our foster care experience.
I'm in my 4th year of college right now, and my mother's no longer living. She passed away almost 7 years ago from cancer. This wasn't the first time I was taken away from her, in the sense when she dies from cancer. I was 15. And this time she's not going to return. This time we're not going to be reunited. Just that feeling and just knowing that has really, it hurts. And it's not something that I will cover up or try to pretend like it still doesn't, it's not painful.
One of the times we were talking about this Gaelic word, and other languages have such a better way of capturing like multiple emotions in a succinct word. And the basics of this word is a feeling of homesickness for a home that maybe never was. I think we all had ideas in our head about what home would be like, but to have that feeling of not knowing what home could have been just really strikes me as being the core of our shared experience.
I remember when I was first put in the system back in 2007, me and my sister were kept together, but they split us apart from our brother. And I moved around a couple of times in foster care, as well as my sister and my brother too. I want people to really think about this now with young people that have been in foster care, don't have a support system when they leave the system. There's still hurdles you have to overcome when you're out of the system.
I love that you brought up the sibling connections. I think too often we don't think about what happens after foster care. I think I shared with you in the past, my brother and I were separated for almost 8 years, and I got guardianship of him when I turned 19, and we were strangers to each other. And I don't think that the system ever thought of me as his permanency. We may not have had parents to go back to, but we did have each other. So I think those are things that we need to look at into our future here as we move forward. Creating those bonds, really making sure that folks know that there are these other options for placement, and how critical that is. Esther, you are just incredible, and knowing that there are things in place now that can help make that transition a little easier, that there isn't just a cliff at 18, but also recognizing that yes, you do have to work harder. You don't have that safety net to fall back on. There's no home to go back to.
The system needs to be about connections, not division. And when me and my siblings were first put in foster care, I felt a lot more division than connection. So there is an importance of establishing that stability and consistency with a child and their biological parents.
I couldn't agree more, and I really think that is the next wave in reform. And let's be honest about it, somebody made foster care up at some point in time, right? And it was built for a different time and place, and we don't live there anymore. Child welfare absolutely has to change because still not enough of us are graduating from high school. Too many of us experience homelessness, and too many of us never make it through the doors of continuing education. And that's got to change.
No, I'm with you there, Annie. Like, I think, I want to say it's like either 3% or 4% of youth that have been in foster care actually earn their 4-year degree. That in itself is a very small proportion.
I mean, really, if we look at who comes into foster care, a large proportion of it is really around neglect, which is really tied to poverty. So can we be looking at the front end and talk about preservation? How do we keep families together? How do we provide parents the resources that they need to be able to keep their families together? Because nobody wants to lose their children to this system. And then, you know, that's one of the things I'm gonna have to brag on it, but Mockingbird Family, that I really love is the fact that birth parents are included in those constellations of families. I really do believe that Mockingbird Family is the next wave in how child welfare evolves. And I really see that as a big part of Mockingbird's work moving forward, that this should be the way that foster care is delivered. And not just here in spots in Washington or just in the UK or just in Canada, but everywhere. It's not just about parents or siblings, and it really is about a whole community. I think, you know, Esther, the importance of the work that you're doing with Mockingbird and the importance of the work that all of the young people associated with Mockingbird is so critical, because I don't think people think about those details, because they do see this as a system that's, you know, saving children, and that once you're in foster care, you're okay, you're good to go, move on. But it just starts there, right? There are so many other things we have to get through. The extended foster care program is something that Mockingbird championed very early on, and our state piloted, and then it actually became national, where every state can opt into extended foster care. Because I know that's the place where I fell through the cracks as a young person, transitioning from foster care into independent living. I spent a lot of time homeless on and off. And homelessness isn't just, you know, on the street corner. I don't think folks really understand that a lot of times it's begging people for a couch to sleep on. You know, just that not knowing of what comes next or where you're going to be next. And that kind of instability almost makes college impossible. So having to be able to pair that, that passport scholarship along with the independent living supports, I'm hoping is going a long way to help young people like you and other young people having this similar experience to be successful in college. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how you've been able to utilize Passport, the Passport Scholarship.
Oh my gosh, most definitely. No, I'm so glad you brought that up, Annie. I know Passport definitely helps financially. So just even in that itself has been such a huge bright side to go into college, is knowing that I have some type of support within the resources that are available to me because of my experiences being in foster care and also extended foster care. It's nice to know I have some type of support financially to get me through school. Those things within themselves have been just a huge stepping stone for me and moving in the right direction of adulting, because money that's available to me for schooling has helped me and really encouraged me to keep going, you know, and continuing my schooling. It's definitely giving me some peace in a small area of my life.
I love that you said a little bit of peace, to be able to free young people up, to be able to focus in on meeting their goal, to be able to support themselves into adulthood, I think is just so critical. And we got lots of noise up there, right? So how much can we get rid of? From my age, watching the things that have changed from when I came into care, which was at 18, you were just done. That was it. And advocates before you, young people between you and me, have gone out to advocate for the things that they need to be able to make a successful transition.
I love that we are a part of changing the narrative. There is that importance that you guys really have with the Mockingbird Society, is giving youth who have experienced foster care a platform to be able to tell their story and change the narrative of the system. Being able to help other young people that are currently in foster care, giving them a voice as well to be able to say, hey, these are things I want to see different moving forward.
Well, and I think that's the only way that we are going to transform these systems, because our experience doesn't have to be the experience that the next generation goes through. I guess, I'm reflecting on this time that we're living in and all that your generation is bringing forth. And we really are in this time of reckoning on so many levels. And a lot of it is just so big. But that, in my mind, foster care is doable.
Yes, definitely. And I had the opportunity of being a part of one of the events you guys put on every year called Summit at the end of July. So not too long ago, and I was able to help facilitate how the event was being played out over Zoom, and how not only me, but everyone else that was a part of making Summit come together. It was such an awesome experience for me, being able to work with you guys and being able to have this vision of what we want to see different in the foster care system moving forward. So being able to be a part of the Mockingbird Society has really shown me different avenues of how not only leadership works, but how coming together collaboratively as a team and as a family works too. Because we're doing a work that's greater than, from what I can tell, greater than something that we've all probably even imagined all together. So what I want to see from youth in foster care, or in youth that have been in foster care, is them believing in themselves, seeing that they are leaders. Youth that are in foster care and have been in foster care are leaders right now. It's not a tomorrow thing, it's a right now thing.
Well, and you all as leaders have changed so much over the 20 years of Mockingbird's history. It's absolutely incredible.
Mockingbird really does bring that home in such a beautiful way of coming together. So the community needs to be a part of this work in changing the foster care system. So I want anyone that's hearing me now to really hear me out and believe that you can be a part of the change in changing a system for the better, changing a system that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel wanted, that makes youth voices heard on just a high level and a high scale. We all have a voice that can help elevate and make change for the better.
We need every voice to come together because we are all part of this community. Transforming the foster care system into one that's supportive and caring for families and children and young people, and ending youth homelessness, it's not rocket science. It's not something that is for another day. It's something we can check off that list on our redesigning our new social compact around, this is something we can fix. It doesn't have to be like this, but it takes the will of many people. And I'm just so grateful and honored to be able to work with you, Esther, and all of the Mockingbird chapter members and leaders. In a time that can sometimes seem hopeless in the bigger world, I have a lot of hope in our world that we really can make those changes that we want to see and make this a better system, a support system for families and children and youth. And I'm so excited, looking forward to what we're going to tackle next. Don't ignore them anymore.